Hello, good evening and welcome to the Spotlight Show here on MX24 television. My name is Carlos Caloni. Now today on the show we are discussing the NPP's impending internal elections ahead of the 2024 general elections. As we are all aware, the ruling New Patriotic Party, the NPP, is actually inching closer to its internal elections, which will elect a candidate to actually lead the party as flag bearer in the 2024 presidential elections. Now, the case is also not different for the members of parliament of the NPP, as the parliamentary primaries also draws closer. For the flag bearer race, for instance, some big wigs have actually declared their intentions to battle for the slots. We have the likes of Kennedy Japan, Boachi, Ejako, Jogati, actually, as well as Adainimo, directly or indirectly expressing interest in the position. Some interested parties who were in government have actually tendered in their resignation in order to be able to focus on their presidential ambitions. We have Mr. Alan Tramanten, the former Minister for Trade and Industry, setting the ball rolling, followed by the former Minister for Agriculture, Dr. Osu Afri Akoto. But we can't tell if more resignations will follow, but we can tell a lot is actually happening within the party and also the days ahead. Now, the parliamentary primaries are also around the corner, and it also promises to be a bit interesting following the issues that surrounded the last primaries, for instance. It is believed in some quarters that how the party manages the primaries or managed the primaries in the past actually affected the 2020 parliamentary elections, hence leading to a hung parliament as we have it now. And so we want to find out if you share in that particular view. And has the party also learned any lessons from the previous parliamentary primaries which will shape the upcoming one? We'll be finding out shortly. And so clearly many developments are happening in the NPP ahead of their primaries. And today on the show, we will be putting the spotlight on the ruling party. We'll be finding out how the party is actually preparing towards its internal elections. As usual, the show is interactive, and so you can leave your comments under the live stream on our Facebook and YouTube channel at MX24 Television. You can also send your comments to the WhatsApp number displayed on your screen. At the latter part of the show, we'll actually give you the opportunity to call in and then share your thoughts with us here on MX24 Television. Now, our guest for today, who is in the studio with us, is lawyer Andrew Appiah Dankwa. He's a private legal practitioner and a member of the NPP communication team. You are welcome to MX24 Television.
Thank you very much, my brother.
All right, share with us how the NPP is doing as we speak.
So the NPP is doing very well as a party. We have a new set of executives being led by Mr. Stephen Tim and Justin Frimpong Kudia, and early days, but at least they've brought a lot of hope into the party.
Okay.
I think the party is in very good hands. Now, when we talk about the NPP in government, as in Nanado's government, there again, I'll say they are not doing too bad. As in, we all understand or appreciate the fact that we are in some form of a crisis. As in the global economy is in a crisis. And I think in the midst of this crisis, I think the government is doing well in terms of how they are managing the
economy,
the crisis.
Okay. We'll delve into the management of the challenge that we have as a nation and the performance of the government, for instance. But I want us to focus a bit on the new executives. Are they prepared actually to face the NDC in the coming 2024 elections?
Well, most certainly. I think over the past 2 years, a year and a half, the NPP has managed to put in place structures, and the structure of every party is very critical. But in that regard, I'd say we seem to be more ready even than the NDC, because I've found it strange that for a party in opposition, the NDC took quite a bit to organize their structures.
Okay.
And what happened was that the NPP, as in the party that is in power, rather
to the lead
and then put in place their structures. Also, the NPP give power to a new group of leaders, as in, we had a lot of issues flowing from the 2020 elections. People had issues with how the party itself conducted itself, and that had an impact on how the results went especially in the parliamentary elections.
Okay, what actually happened? Was it the fact that you actually couldn't manage the primaries well, you protected some and didn't protect some?
Well, people felt that the will of the constituents, the will of the party people in the various constituencies, some of the constituencies were not taken into consideration, and people were foisted on them, and because of that, it was a bit difficult to galvanize the base of the party in certain constituencies that we had never lost, and that culminated in the 137 we have in Parliament now. As a result of that, our General Secretary John Boydo had to take the fall for those issues, and the party took into the hands of Sen Frimpong Kudia.
So you believe under his leadership we're going to see something different?
Yeah, I believe so. I think already he's showing some kind of leadership, because if you recall, sometime late last year, the Ashanti Regional Chairman Wuntumi organized some sort of mini campaign rally for His Excellency Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. And yes, Justin Hulia didn't suspend Chairman Wuntumi like some people were clamoring for. But the effort that he had the courage to call him out, to warn him, you understand, at least give some of us some confidence that at least we have a young man, a leader now, who has the courage, who has the cojones to take people on. It was not Chairman Wuntumi. There is an impression that he's untouchable in the party. But to have for our General Secretary to take him on, whether it led to, and the fact that he even took him on, give some indication that, and throughout his communication, how he communicates, the kind of message he's sending across, I believe that one very critical element, as in allowing the structures to work, allowing our constitution to work, giving every party member a fair playing ground, at least to contest in the coming elections, and also create a system where we be all free to speak our minds, because these are the values that made the what's called the NPP life. And so when you have a General Secretary who seems to breathe life into these values, at least it gives us some hope that our NPP is back.
All right, so I want to find out from you. Let's delve into the preparation towards the elections proper.
Yeah.
I mean, your internal elections. Did the resignation of Alan Chirmante, for instance, and then the Afri Akoto come as a surprise to the party or to a person, people like you?
Personally, no. Personally,
how about the party?
I can't speak for the party.
Okay. You're a communication.
Yeah, but as in, I can't speak for the executive of the party, but at least for the ground, as in for the party members, at least the kind of reaction we had
was expected.
Yeah, it was. In fact, there's a view that doesn't to suggest that they were even surprised. Actually, for Alan Chirmante, they thought that it came a bit late. Personally, I feel that it was just.
He should have done this long ago.
No, I feel that it was just perfect. The timing was just right. But there are some people who are of the view that it should have come earlier. But I'm not surprised at all. I'm not surprised at all because 2024 is a very critical election, and I think that our party is being given an opportunity because of how the NDC themselves are organized and who they are bringing. And if we play our cards well and we all do our things well, we would have a realistic chance of breaking the 8.
Okay, how about Afri Akoto, for instance? How did it come to you?
So Afri Akoto, I wasn't surprised. I haven't really thought about about his resignation issue, but I felt that his resignation was more of a reactionary one. After Alan Chirmante resigned, I think he thought that there was a lot of pressure on him also to resign because clearly he has political ambitions. I see his billboards littered throughout the country, and so clearly he had given an indication. But his resignation coming about a week, barely some few days after Alan Chirmante resigned, gives the impression that his resignation was more of a reaction to the step that
Alan took.
So that's the impression I had.
Are we to see a lot more resignations and from those serving in Akufo-Addo's government towards this particular presidential
beyond, Jogati was also in the government, as in yes, in the first term.
Yeah,
he didn't even serve in the second term. So, so beyond Alan Chirmante and Afri Akoto, I don't think I have any indication of anybody else.
Matthew Poku Prempeh, for instance.
He was once president.
Yes, from indications, it appears he's interested in.
Well, then, at some point in time, he may also have to resign. But like I'm saying, the word coming from the ground doesn't seem to suggest that Napu realistically has a chance to be president this time, and so people are expecting him to resign. I don't seem to get that feeling from the ground, and that's why I'm saying I don't see any more resignations beyond Alan Chirmante and Afri Akoto, especially also because most of the people who have expressed interest in becoming president are not necessarily members of this government, and so because Apraku is not in government, Adenimo is not in government, Kennedy Japan is not in government.
But we have the vice president in government.
But he can't resign.
Why can't he? Per the structures, per the laws of your party.
No, per the laws of the country.
Yeah.
Because our constitution works under is subject to the constitution of the land.
Okay.
The vice president, there's no.
If others who are actually contesting or who want to contest are supposed to resign their position, why can't the vice president?
Because you see, so when you're a minister, you are serving under the pleasure of the president. You see, Ghanaians, we voted the president into power. So the president is the bearer of the executive power of government, and the ministers are more or less like his agents. They are the pleasure of the president. But the vice president also performs duties assigned by the president. But he's not the pleasure of the president. He was elected into office. The president ran with the vice president. That's why if you read our constitution, the vice president he may resign. Like the president may choose to resign, but there's no obligation on the vice president to resign before he can contest to become president. So the call for our vice president to resign, in my opinion, is neither here nor there.
Do you see, for the purposes of good governance, do we need to change the law so that if a vice president decides to run for a political office, he ought to resign? Do we need to work on the law?
No, I don't think so.
Why don't you think so?
Because really, also when you read the Constitution, what critically, really, how critical is the vice? How critical is the vice? You see, so we've had a situation where, because of how Nanado, as our president, he says he does this thing, he's placed a lot of trust and so duties on the vice president. But really, beyond Nanado personally making this a vice president very quite powerful, what really, how does the vice president not as in having a presidential ambition, how does it affect our governance structure as against a minister being distracted because he wants to be president?
Okay.
You understand? Because for you, a minister, the president, like I'm saying, you are the agent of the presidency. You understand? So they give you a specific duty. You understand? So if you have you have your eyes somewhere, how can you play your clear job or the clear purport for which the president has given you that agency job?
Okay.
And so then it's necessary that you resign.
Okay, so some have actually raised concerns over the resignation of the agri minister and the trade minister, for instance, on the impact that is likely to have on the performance of the economy. These are two key areas, agri and trade. What impact do you think their resignation is actually going to have on the Akufo-Addo's government, the fact that he has about 2 years more to go?
Well, so specifically, as in with this government, with their focus on transformation. So when this government came, we said that their focus was on transformation, as in increasing productivity. And we all know that when it comes to transformation, the two very critical elements of transformation are agriculture and industry. Now, at the level of the minister, you know, the key, one of the key jobs is policy formulation and policy direction and implementation. Now, if after 6 years, and both of them have been 6 years, have been power for 6 years, if after 6 years you have not been able to clearly set out or align the policy direction in achieving this transformation agenda, then there's a problem. Then, in my opinion, you shouldn't even attempt to be president even in the first place. Now, when you go to the trade ministry, clearly the transformational policies have all been put in place. There's a comprehensive 10-point industrialization agenda, which is supposed to be the bedrock of our transformational agenda, and part of the term called industrialization agenda includes policies like the 1D, 1F, the anchor industry policy, under which we have the automobile policy, you have the industrial parks, you have the BRCs, which are supposed to build the capacities of the SMEs. And all these things have been done. The policies have been set in place. The structures have been put in place.
So the structures have been put in place. But are you okay with the performance so far? Are we having any benefit from all those initiatives so far? Let's take trade, for instance. Are you okay with the performance?
I think the performance of trade has been excellent. So he's the Minister for Trade and Industry. Now, when you take the trade, for instance, both domestically and internationally. Now you have a situation where Guta themselves, when the minister resigned, Guta themselves said Alan Chimanten is an asset to Ghana. He's a genius, and we went ahead to give him 80 over 100.
80 over 100.
Yeah,
but under Alan Chimanten, we've seen a lot of agitations. Traders locked up their shops and a whole lot of
issues. Traders locked up their shops not because of the trade policies, but because of the taxation issues. Because you see. So you are a trader. Let's say you are selling your iPhones. So there's a free. So we are practicing a free trade market. Free market. So all the structures that allow you to be able to trade are there. Now, when it comes to what's it called? The fact that you are trading does also means that one, you'll be slapped with some taxes, and those taxes are not do not emanate from the Ministry of Trade. We all know that when it comes to taxation, it's a matter that begins from the Ministry of Finance. So when they locked up their shops, it was not because of trade policy related issues. It was because they had issues with taxation. So and that's why the Buta people can say that Alan was an asset and we give him 80%. And then they can't give him 100% because I don't think it's possible for any human being to run a perfect system.
That's on trade. So let's look at the industry.
I'm not even done.
Okay.
Now, when you go to the international trade too, because the trade minister leads all governments in international trade, for the first time in the history of the Fourth Republic, and I would dare add in the history of this country, I'm not too sure, but I'm certain about the Fourth Republic. We've consistently for the first time, we had trade balance surplus. You understand? And this trade balance surplus has been sustained at least 5 out of the 6 years this government has been.
And what are the figures?
So, on the average, around $2.3 billion on the average. And when we say trade balance surplus, essentially what it simply means is that the amount of money you made from import, the amount of money you used to import was less than the amount of money you gained from your exports.
Okay.
And for the first time in the history of this country, we have a surplus.
Could that not be due to the oil factor?
But we've had oil under previous regimes. So if 2017 was the first time we had oil as being part of our export products, then your argument could be sustained. But 2017 wasn't the first time we had oil being exported in Ghana.
So you believe that Alan has done a lot?
No, he's done.
When it comes to trade, for instance.
In fact, when you even consider the creation of the critical role he played in the creation of ACFTA, the critical role he played in the creation of ACFTA,
Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement,
and the potential and all the structures that will make the ACFTA work. Understand? And how Ghana can take advantage of that.
Are we even taking advantage under his watch?
As we speak, there's a comprehensive national export development plan that has been put in place. You understand? And to transform can't happen even let's say in 4 years or 5 years. Because the word transform, that's that you want to radically transform your economy to increase productivity. First of all, it's not something that can be done in a rush. It needs strategic thinking. You understand? And you need strategic planning. You understand? And I'm saying that under Alan Kyerematen's watch, what we have done is, as in what this government has done, is to do all the strategic thinking, as in the thinking work in how to transform the economy. And indeed, we have even implemented some of these strategies.
Which are?
Like the 1D1F.
How has the 1D... Okay, let me find out how many industries or companies have actually been commissioned under Alan Kyerematen functioning.
So functioning, at the last count, I think it was 126.
126.
Yeah, at the last, it could be more, but per my memories is 126. Now beyond.
What impact is that having on the performance of the economy?
So 200,000 people who wouldn't have had jobs, but for the 1D1F have gotten jobs. Also, we all know the crisis that the whole globe has been in. As we all know the kind of crisis the whole world has been in. We've seen pictures in places in the UK where people are actually queuing and as in they can't even get things to buy. I'm saying the totality of the policies of this government has ensured that in spite of all the difficulties that the global world has found itself in, So you talk about the issues to do with the supply chain disruption as a result of COVID, and then the war in Russia and Ukraine. In spite of all the difficulties, yes, things may have, as in the price of goods and services may have gone up, but we've not had the issue of shortages. And I'm saying it's all because of the way and manner in which government's transformational agenda has been handled.
Okay.
In my view, government we have just taken baby steps, but they are baby steps forward, not backwards.
Okay. Now, so you believe that Alan has really performed under the Trade and Industry Ministry. Let's look at Akoto Osei briefly. Do you see him also as someone who has really performed under the father food prices are going up across the country? Yeah.
So when you take the price of food, certainly it can't just be because of lack of the commodity of the food. There are so many other considerations that has caused the price of food to go up, like the high cost of fuel. Because from the farm gate, as in when the commodities are produced, certainly it has to be and that's why we call it the supply chain.
Okay.
So the farmer produces, but he has to get to the market, and that will require air transportation. We all know what has happened to the cost of fuel in a country, and the consequences of the cost of transportation. So the reason why the food has gone up is not because of lack of productivity. But there again, what we can then say is that that's one of the critique. That should be one of the critique of the program, because to have effective transformation, then you must also have a plan at building and consolidating your infrastructure, and I think those are the small gaps that.
So you think the food minister, Dr.
No, hasn't done badly.
Okay.
He hasn't done badly, and the reasons why the prices of food are up is not because of a failure of his planting for food and jobs. No, it's a bigger problem of first of all our entire fiscal economy, and also lack of infrastructure.
We'll look at the Super Delegate Congress, but I want us to also look at the performance of Bawumia, for instance. Bawumia, Dr. Akoto Osei, and Alan. What can you say about the performance of Bawumia comparatively between Alan and Dr. Akoto Osei?
So earlier I spoke about the role of the vice president. You understand? So if there's an issue, and I see people are going after Dr. Bawumia, it's right. I think it's one of the most notorious that people are actually going after His Excellency Dr. Bawumia. But then you see, the only reason why people are going after Bawumia, one, is because of how our president marketed him to the party. So during the campaign, the president projected Bawumia as the star who was going to deal with what's called a dollar cedi issue. You understand? And Dr. Bawumia himself had a lot of lectures on the dollar. Now it's because of those issues why you want to see Dr. Bawumia, there's a lot of pressure on him. But you cannot take away from him his drive in pushing the digitization agenda.
As the head of the economic management team, has he really performed? Looking at where the city is, where the economy is headed.
So like I said, so there is no secret that our economy is in crisis. Yeah, you understand. But it will be very and also, like I said, the crisis largely is as a result of three factors. One, the COVID, the Russia-Ukraine, and the way and certain decisions our government
But someone should be held responsible for the way the economy is going.
No. So
that's what I'm driving at.
Yes,
so I want to find out from you whether Alan being part of the economic management team, I believe the agri minister is also part of. Yes, the three of them. Who should be held responsible? The fact that the three of them want to become president.
You see, and it will be because of the manner in which our economy is structured and the way we've done things over a long period of time. It will be very unfair to blame any of the three of them for how the economy is performing. The economy is performing like it's doing because of the way Ghana as a country, we have done things over a very long period of time. In fact, it is that our government tried to change. That's why we said our focus is on transformation. Unfortunately, and clearly, so you could see that our government sought to change the structure of our economy from one that practically is...
You said you were coming to change from taxation to production, but we are seeing more of taxes. We are not seeing more of production. So have you been able to transform the economy to, I mean, based on what you said prior to coming into office?
There again, like, and I said it here, that when you're transforming an economy, it's not something that you can complete in 4 years.
But you made a promise on the premise that you're coming to get 4 year term based on which you're coming to transform the economy. So you cannot say that 4 years is too short to transform the economy.
No.
You knew you were coming to have 4 years.
Let me land. So what I'm saying, I'm not saying that we didn't have 4 years or short. What I said, to completely transform the economy, to create an economy that is so resilient that it can withstand the shocks that things like COVID and the war in Russia and Ukraine will bring. Because see, both of these factors can be termed force majeure. Nobody foresaw COVID coming and its impact on the economy and the war in Russia and Ukraine. Now, if we had completed, let's say if our economy was completely transformed, you understand, then the economy would have been in a position to better deal with those shocks. That's what I'm saying, that to completely transform an economy, it won't happen in 4 years. It is impossible. Okay. You understand? But clearly, when we came into power, and you can judge the performance of our economy before the ravages of the COVID and then the war in Russia and Ukraine. For when you look at the macroeconomic indicators, for I think 3 times we had single-digit inflation. We had a fairly stable LCD. We had GDP levels rising to record levels. We had GDP rising to record levels in our country. We had trade balance surplus. So the indicators show that we were on the right trajectory towards the kind of transformation we were looking at. Then the war in Russia and Ukraine, as in the COVID came and the war in Russia, and what it came to prove was that, as in what has been done, has still not been able to create a resilient economy.
Okay.
But then I'm saying that it will be very unfair. As people have issues with certain decisions that we took, like a delay in going to the IMF.
Okay.
You understand? Because I've never understood why we do politics with IMF in this country, especially if you understand why the IMF was created in the first place. Because, as in the kind of economic crisis we had, the world global economy had post-COVID, isn't the first time the world economy...
Okay, so you believe that these 3 people cannot be blamed for the performance of the economy. Yet these 3 people want to lead us. They want to become president.
Please, let's put what I'm saying in proper context. I'm saying that it would be, we would do ourselves as a country at the service if we just say that the economy is what it is today because of these 3 people. The economy is what it is because of how our economy has been managed for a very long time. Since how many times have we gone to the IMF? For 17 times. Because the IMF is like the hospital for economy. If your economy is sick, the hospital you go to is the IMF.
Okay.
You understand? If for 17 years you've gone to the IMF, that means that there's a fundamental problem with your...
Right. Briefly, before we go to the Super Delegate Congress, I want us to touch on the competencies of the 3 people, Bawumia, Alan, and Dr. Akoto Osei. Among the 3, who stands at the top based on where you are seeing from?
From us, I'm sitting. I'm not saying this because of anybody. I think you can't even compare any of them to Alan Chemanten. No,
really?
no, you can't. It's not. It's day and night, and it's based on what they've done in their lives. You understand? So now, when you talk about transformation, I'm saying the key components are because essentially transformation simply means increasing productivity. As you want, and then you want to increase productivity. You understand? And you can only increase productivity through industrialization and through mechanization. You understand? And to place transformation in the context of building an economy strategically, especially where it is clear that to get real transformation and to have the full benefits of it, then you must use the private sector. I don't think anybody can compare to Alan Chemanten. And why am I saying this? Now, this is somebody who cut his teeth building small and medium scale enterprises with NPTEC. And he did it so well. As in, he did it so well that a program that was being sponsored by monies from Barclays Bank was able to win itself of the said financial support within a matter of.
So Bawumia doesn't come close.
You let me. I'm making an argument. Because I just want to talk like I'm talking. No. We have to justify why we think some. So then he was tried in other African countries through Enterprise Africa. He did it excellently. He was then made UNDP boss. He did it excellently. We saw his performance in Kofor 1, Agua, how he created Agua and how Agua opened up the US market to Ghanaian products. We saw his performance as a trade minister, how he saved textile industries with this what's called Friday Wear. Then there again, when you look at the economic history of Africa, one of the critical things that has plagued all African economies is the fact that we are not united. And Kwame Nkrumah, being the visionary that he is, in 1963, said something. He said, either Africa unite or we fail. Now, when Kwame Nkrumah was talking about the unity of Africa, I'm very sure he was looking at it in terms of how a united Africa, the advantages United Africa can give to the individual economies of Africa. Because when African countries gained independence around the early 60s, majority of the African countries undertook what was called an import substitution industrialization. So this is not the first time that we are attempting transformation through industrialization. We have done it. We have tried it before. Unfortunately, it didn't work. You understand? And one of the critical reasons, or one of the critical problems we had was because we were not united, and so we didn't. How many African countries?
So what has Alan done in that regard?
ACFTA. Now, with the creation of ACFTA, right now factories in Ghana have the benefit of 1.2 billion population market.
Specifically, what did he do?
He was the originator. He was the formulator. You see, so when we lost power in 2008, Alan was appointed AU advisor on trade with a singular with one of his jobs being how to create a system where African countries can trade amongst themselves. And the benefit of he undertaking that job is ACFTA. And for us as Ghanaians, he then lobbied to get the headquarters here in Accra. So technically we are the what's it called, of Africa. Now ACFTA, but just creating of ACFTA, all industries in Ghana have something that the industries in Nkrumah's time didn't have. The benefit of having access to the African market. That's 1.2 billion duty-free, quota-free.
Okay, so these are some of the reasons for which you believe that he stands tall among the three of them.
We tall.
Okay, all right. So, final, this super delegate, the party, tell us about this super delegate. What is he about? So,
I think the starting point should be is delegates that vote for the NPP.
Okay.
Who becomes president. Now, super delegates issue will only come in. It is a contingent step. It will only come in where there are more than 5 people who want to contest for president. So if the people who want to contest for president are less than 5, then the super delegates won't even come in.
Okay.
The super delegates will only come in when there are more than 5 contestants. And the whole idea is that super delegates will vote, and then the first 5 will be those who will contest for the bigger delegates to vote.
Okay.
So the super delegates, and at this point, with the permission, let's go to the constitution so that at least I do not misquote or anything.
Right.
So when you go into our constitution, the super delegates comprise of the National Council, the National Executive Committee, the regional executive committees, all members of the National Council of Elders, all party members of Parliament, then 3 reps of each of the special organs of the party. So special organs of the party, youth wing, all those women, past national officers, 3 representatives each from every external branch, so the UK branch, US branch, you understand? The founding members join the registration of the party at the Electoral Commission, and all party card-bearing ministers. Now they constitute the super delegates. You understand? And I think it's similar to how, in the UK, when they are voting for their party leaders, initially just the MPs vote, and then the top 2. So when Liz Truss contested against the current prime minister, the current prime minister won the super delegates, their super delegates, and yes, when after the 2 of them were picked, Liz Truss won when they were presented before the entire delegate. So it's something similar.
Okay.
So
but some have really argued that this is not democratic. It appears to be imposing candidates on the party, and so it should be discouraged. Do you share that view?
Oh, no, I disagree with that view. And you see, the super delegates was brought in to serve a certain or to cure certain illness. If you recall, in 2007. About 17 people contested the NPP presidential elections, and there was a feeling that a lot of acrimony was caused because of the huge number of people who contested, and also an impression was given in the minds of the ordinary Ghanaian that there was something.
Hungry people.
You understand? And so the super delegates was brought in to cure that illness.
Okay.
You understand? And at the end of the day, you have very huge democracies like the US, and where it's not everybody that votes. You understand? So I think at the end of the day, whoever is chosen as the presidential candidate will be chosen by the entire delegates of the party. Because if we make the super delegates argument, then another argument could also be made that just allowing delegates to vote in itself is also non-democratic. It's not all party members
who have the chance to have a say.
Is delegates. Okay. You understand? So, you see, why change a system if it's working well? I don't really see.
So, are we going to see from where you sit and as a big party person, do you think we're going to have more than 5?
Well, from all indications, and in fact, when we're even mentioning
the names,
we had more than 5. So it's looking likely that we'll have more than 5. But in politics, one day is even a very long time. So let's hold our horses on that. Let the party open the nominations. Let's see those who go and pick up their forms, and then we'll know whether we'll have, there'll be an opportunity to call on the super delegates or not.
Now, of all these 5 we've mentioned so far, the names we've mentioned so far, if it's anything to go by, do you think they have what it takes to compete with the NDC?
Yeah, I think anybody that NPP chooses will give the NDC a run for their money. NPP is arguably about the biggest party.
You appear so confident. Why?
No, you are talking about the ruling party. You are talking about the longest tradition in this country, a tradition that has withstood whatever shocks. So I think one of the biggest mistakes anybody can do is to underrate the Dankwa Dombo Buzia tradition.
Okay.
Anybody in party, you understand? So I think anybody that the party chooses will give the NDC the round of the money. However, like I said, I think we have been given a fantastic opportunity as a party. Yes, and why am I saying so? I'm saying so because when you look at the political history anywhere in the world, we do 4 years, but there's an 8-year cycle, and at the 8th year, there's all the 8-year cycle is always a change.
Okay,
you understand? 2024 is a change election. Whichever way.
In your party, I've read some document where a section of your members say they want to see Alan Bawumia tickets. From where you sit, is this something that is likely to happen?
So that depends on the. Is delegates going to choose? I know some people are. In fact, what they're actually saying, and it's not like some few people. What they're actually saying is that they should set Alan and Bawumia down and let the two of them form one ticket, and that's very undemocratic. At the end of the day, sovereign power resides in the people. You understand? I don't know why people are afraid of contest. Let's go for a contest. You understand? Let's go and demonstrate our democratic credentials. It builds the party. You understand? Let the party people decide who they want to present as their presidential candidate. And as the constitution of the party says, let that person propose a running mate. If, let's say, Alan wins and he proposes, but that's a but at the end of the day, we have structures, we have rules, we have laws. We should let the laws work.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Appiah, for speaking with us here on MX24 television. We are so grateful for your time. And this is where we draw the curtain on today's show, which has been live from our studios here in East Legon, Accra. I promise to come your way again with another exciting edition of Spotlight. My name, as always, is Carlos Kaloni. Thank you so much for watching. Enjoy the rest of our program.
Visit www.mx24online.com for news, exclusive behind-the-scenes videos, up-to-the-minute sports updates, and the latest broken pen stories now. Experience more of MX24 Online. Visit mx24online.com today. MX24. Fun, fearless, and factual.
Dreaming of a property for your home or workspace is one thing, but finding the property at the best locations with the most favorable condition and closing that deal is another. And that's why we are here. From Accra, Ghana, to Lagos, Nigeria, to Cape Town, South Africa, we bring you prime properties, affordable home solutions, and intriguing interviews with CEOs of various real estate companies and everything in between and on. My name is Kwesi Otten Desmond, and this is Property Take. Property Take, your gateway to Africa's real estate market. Showing this on every Wednesday, 7:30 p.m. on MX24.
Welcome to the 7th edition of the Total Energies African Nations Championships Algeria Chan 2023. Starting January 13th, 18 top African soccer nations will battle it out of their group stages for the cap at the finals on February 4th, including the Black Galaxies from Ghana, who will face Madagascar, Sudan, and twice defending Chan champions Morocco to qualify for the next knockout rounds. Tune in to the station for the best in African soccer as 18 national teams compete in the Total Energies African Nations Championships Algeria Chan 2023. Coming to you live and free from 13 January to 4th February on the station.
Odro Freche O Dwaben Ashanti, Ebusia Penny Opoko Boache Kofredia New Dwaben, Nana Yaw Ano Nkonyaswa for Henny New Dwaben, Nana Bedu Asianoa, Etonto Henny Agona Ashanti, Nana Ajay Sapong, Ada Henny New Dwaben, Nana Obere Sampa the Third, Jafo Henny New Dwaben.
Yo, what's up? It's your boy Last Minute. You watching MX24.
You know, Willie, it's a boy now.